Welcome to the Word on Pop Culture podcast. I'm Julian Spivey, the creator and editor of the Word on Pop Culture. You can find us online at thewordonpopculture.com. You've already found our podcast, so please give us a like, rating, review, or share so others may find us too. Welcome back to the Word on Pop Culture podcast. I am Julian Spivey, and I'm delighted to be joined today by Mark Currey, a singer-songwriter out of Arkansas, and Mark's newest record, or EP, I guess you would call it, Only Sky, just released on September 12th. So he's here today to talk to us about that and some other stuff that he's got going on. So, Mark, tell us just a little bit about yourself before we get into the record.
Yeah, I can do that. And hi, Julian, by the way.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was
yeah,
so
so
I was so excited to talk to you. I just dispatched with the
with the
pleasantries.
introductions, sure. All right, so we released the record on September 12th, and I've been writing songs and singing for most of my life, and I'm an older gentleman, shall we say, at this point in time. Uh, but um, but yeah, this is my second record. We released the first one, Tarrant County, now in 2017. We released that record, so this is kind of a follow up to that, and it's a 6 song EP, and really proud of it.
Good, good. And I see that your producer was Jason Weinheimer. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
And it was recorded at the Fellowship Hall Sound in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell us a little bit about how you got together with Jason and chose that record studio.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've known Jason for a while, and of course, he's local here to Little Rock, which is where I am. The thing that drew me to Jason is that we kind of speak the same musical language. That I know the projects that have been recorded in his studio and that he's produced, and they're all by artists that I love. He's done work with John Moreland, with John Fulbright, with Pony Bradshaw, with Shiny Ribs. All of those folks have recorded in his house, and so I knew that we would be able to communicate in terms of what I was hearing in my head and wanted the record to be, and I felt like he could help me get there.
Awesome. Tell us kind of how this project came about. I know that you used crowdfunding to do this. Have you ever worked
We
through
did.
crowdfunding before?
We did. The first record we did with Kickstarter, and that worked out pretty well. This one, because I wanted to do something a little bigger than what we had done last time, the amount that we asked for on the Kickstarter was considerably higher. To make this record, it turned out Kickstarter, for folks that don't know, is an all or nothing situation. And so if you set a goal of $15,000 and you get $14,500, then you get nothing. And that's kind of what ended up happening. And so we got to the end of that period and had not reached our goal. But rather than kind of give up and wait till next year, we just kind of reconfigured our goals a little bit. I decided that I still wanted to have the same approach to the songs. So rather than record more cheaply, we would just do fewer songs.
Mhm.
And that's why we ended up with an EP instead of a full, 10, 11, 12 song LP. So we relaunched again through kind of advice of a friend that said, do the next one on GoFundMe. Don't worry about rewards. The people that love you and want to support you, that's not why they're doing it anyway. And they're not doing it for a T-shirt or a koozie. They're doing it because they want to support your music. So we relaunched the whole thing on GoFundMe, and over the course of a few weeks, we raised about $10,000. We're able to, take that and not only record the 6 songs that we recorded, but also include some people in the project that we wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of those people. Let's talk about who you recorded with band wise. It looks like you had Jesse Acock on guitar, lap steel, dobro, piano. It plays a little bit of everything. It looks like
Yeah.
Patty Ryan on drums and percussion, and then
Uh-huh.
Jason Weinheimer, who produced it, was on bass and
He
keyboards.
played.
So was this your
Yeah.
first time working with those fellas?
I'd actually worked with Jason one time before on just a one-off project that we had done. The other guys I was familiar with their work, but had not worked with them. Both of them, again, much like the studio, they play on records that I like. And
Hmm.
so I knew that those guys would get what we were trying to do. And also, Jason, he works with those guys pretty much exclusively. And so they have a real good shorthand in the studio. And so we were able to get things done a lot more quickly than we might have otherwise because they kind of already have a working method of how they get tracks done. We were able to track all 6 songs really over just a couple of days.
Yeah, it seems like you moved fast. I was following the crowdfunding portion of your album, and it seemed like y'all went from that to the record studio to even getting this EP out fairly fast.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely quicker than it would normally be. There are some things that we could have taken longer with in terms of not the recording process, but the stuff you do between the when that's finished and release date. But we were shooting for a specific event where we wanted to release the record on that specific date, and so yeah, we had to. we
I'm assuming that specific event was the Antlers and Acorns event, and
yeah.
you've played that for at least 2 or 3 years now, haven't you?
Well, actually, this year was my fourth,
Fourth, wow.
and so I've been at all of them. I think there's one other songwriter that has been at all four events. Antlers and Acorns is a songwriters festival, and so it very much focuses on songs and the folks that write them. The format of the festival is they'll have headliners. They have a beautiful theater in downtown Boone, North Carolina, called the Appalachian Theater. And on like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, they'll have headliners that will perform in that theater. And some of those headliners, James McMurtry's been there a couple of times. Rodney Crowell was there last year. John Paul White, Mary Gaucher's been there multiple times. Radney Foster, just a lot of really, really amazing songwriters have filled those headlining spots. Daryl Scott was there this year, which I was really excited about. I'm a huge fan. And then what on Friday and Saturday they do something called Songwriters in the Wild,
Hmm.
and there are usually about 15 songwriters that on Friday and Saturday from noon till about 6 o'clock there'll be 4 or 5 different venues in town that'll all be hosting these various songwriters. Everybody does like a 45-minute set, and it's not uncommon to play a 45-minute set, pack your stuff up, walk down the sidewalk, and play another 45-minute set in a different venue. So that's kind of going on all over town. And all those shows are free for anybody that wants to attend them. And then the evening shows are ticketed, and they also have VIP passes if you want to do the whole deal.
So only Sky. How was it taken by the listeners of the festival?
I think really well because this is our fourth year to be there. There are a lot of people that attend the festival that have also been there 3, 4 times. So we've made some friends among the fans that attend the festival, and in fact, some of them supported the crowdfunding that we did. So the anticipation was pretty good going into the festival with those folks, and then we sold a bunch of CDs, and people seem to respond to the new songs well, which is always that's the test. And yeah, it was a great experience. It always is, but it was fun to go back with. This is the first time I've gone with like an actual new record.
Mhm.
So that was pretty exciting.
Would you recommend the crowdfunding method for other musicians?
Yeah, I would. And I think what I'm finding for most of the people that I know, friends of mine, even, folks in Nashville and in Texas that are touring songwriters, it's become fairly common because the cost of making a record, in some ways, it's cheaper than it's ever been because of the proliferation of digital tools for recording. But at the same time, to get a good radio broadcast worthy recording made, but still requires somebody that knows how to turn those knobs and make all of that work. And it also requires getting musicians that are pros.
Yeah.
Um, and in order to do that, that costs money. And so most of the folks that I know use some type of crowdfunding on almost all of their recording projects, whether it's for the actual recording. Some of them will record out of their own pocket and use crowdfunding for like the launch, that kind of thing. It varies, but it seems like almost everybody uses some form of it these days.
Your original plan, as you mentioned, was to go and record a full album, and it
Yes.
wound up becoming a 6 song EP. I
Yeah.
assume you had enough songs ready to go for the full album.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how difficult was it to choose which songs you ended up recording and then which ones you had to leave off?
Oddly not that difficult. I thought it would be
Hmm.
going in, but when I sat down and actually said, okay, which 6 songs do I want to do? Um, it kind of came pretty quickly to me. And honestly, some of it was like the newer the songs were, the more likely I was to select them. And that's probably just because they were kind of what was floating in my head and what I was closest to at the moment. So there are a couple of songs on the record that were written, um, between May and June.
So you had some fresh stuff, even though Tarrant County came out, I believe, nearly 8 years ago. You didn't
Yeah.
just have stockpiled songs. You were still writing fresh songs to put on the record.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm not nearly as prolific as I would like to be, and some of that is due to the fact that I still have a day job. And but yeah, this last year or so, I've been much more disciplined about writing and getting in my writing room and trying to write on a regular basis. So yeah, there were quite a few songs to choose from, and it just happened to be that the ones that were kind of speaking to my heart the most, I guess, were a couple that I had written pretty recently.
When it comes to recording an album, do you have pretty much complete say so in what makes the album? Does the producer have some say so in what he thinks should make the album? How does that work?
Well, it kind of, I mean, it can go either way. In this case, in terms of the songs that we selected, that was pretty much these are the songs I want to record.
Mhm.
But there certainly are many instances where you go in and sit down with the producer and go, okay, here are 20 songs that I've got, and together let's pick the 10 best ones, or something like that. And that's pretty common as well.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the actual recording process, part of what I wanted, um, and one of the reasons that I specifically wanted to work with Jason is that I wanted to just bring the songs and my voice and not have to worry too much about arrangement and instrumentation and that kind of thing. And with the guys that he works with and kind of their method of recording, that worked out really well. So from that standpoint, Jason certainly crafted the overall sound of the record in ways that I might not have if it were just me, but in ways that I'm really happy with. I mean, I'm thrilled with some of the choices that we made.
Yeah, I've listened to the EP a handful of times before this show, and it sounds really good. So you and
So
Jason and
thanks.
everybody who played on it did a really good
Yeah,
job. I actually want to get into some of the tracks,
yeah.
and maybe talk about them a bit. So, like I said, I enjoyed the entire EP, but the when I first pulled it up, the thing that instantly caught my eye was the title of the final track, "Talking Hindu Monkey Blues," approximately, which is
Yes.
this spoken word tale of an American who goes to the jungles of Indonesia and he gets a little bit too close to the wildlife. And you have a great sing along at the end. It's fun that there's this. Most of it is this spoken word tune, and then just this absolutely catchy sing along at the end. Did I see somewhere on either your social media or something that this is actually a true story?
It is, in fact, a true story. My dad worked for a company called Combustion Engineering. And what they did was, and I guess still do, is they build these massive power plants all over the world. He was like an HR guy for them. And so wherever they would have a new project, he would go and do HR for that project. He had lived kind of all over. He was 5 years in Puerto Rico and just a lot of different places. But one of the projects that he worked on was in Indonesia, and they're 5 year projects. Like I said, they go in and they literally went into the jungle where there was nothing, and they built a big high rise condominium, for all of the workers to live in, and and they worked on this power plant, and so yeah, the story in the song is basically about a day trip that he and my stepmom and some other friends took over to Bali to tour all of the old Hindu temple ruins over there. And he was in fact attacked by a monkey. And I tell everybody when I perform this song, the only changes to the true story that I made were in the service of rhyming. But other than that, everything is pretty much exactly as told.
Yeah, that's amazing. When I was listening to it, I'm like, man, I guess this could be fiction. People can come up with some great tales, but this seems so specific.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's a story that it's obviously legend in my family, and has been for decades. And I'd always wanted to see if I could turn it into a song. And I started working on it probably around the time that Tarrant County came out, and then would kind of come back to it in fits and starts and add a verse and another verse. And interestingly, when I started writing it, my intention was to write, hence the title, a talking blues. And I love that format. It's old. You hear it on old Dylan records, and a lot of more contemporary artists still use that form, and then a lot of people pre-Dylan. But I realized when I was about half to two-thirds of the way through the song that there was one little rhythmic thing that is kind of part of the DNA of a talking blues that I had left out. And in order to fix that was going to require more rewrite than I was willing to do. Um, and so hence it's a talking blues, comma, approximately.
In your thank yous that I saw, you thanked Josh Greider for cracking the code of including the monkey song. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I went to a songwriters workshop a weekend in Moravia, Texas, back in the spring, and Josh was one of the mentor slash judges for the competition part of it. And I didn't play the song in the actual official thing that we did, but around the campfire that night, we all stayed on this big, massive working cattle ranch. And so around the campfire that night, I did the song, and he really liked it. And we were talking about it the next day. And I said, the only thing that I'm trying to figure out is that I would love to record it, but how do you include a song like that on an album full of like, heart wrenching, serious material? And he said, well, what you do is you kind of tag it on at the end and you treat it like its own thing, like it's not even really part of the record. Um, you know, do it live, or something to kind of. Um, so when I brought the song to Jason and the guys, I kind of played through a little bit of it for them, and or actually we didn't play it at all. I just told them about it, and we all went into the studio at the same time. Um, I didn't go in an isolation booth. I was out in the room with all the other guys, and we literally just, I told them what the chord changes were, and we played through the song, and then all the guys in the band sang with me on the sing along part on the last verse, and we did it live. Uh, did a couple of passes and picked the best one, and that was that.
Yeah, it kind of has that feel like y'all all did it in the room together. Kind of
Yeah,
like
yeah,
some of Jerry Jeff Walker's best songs,
yeah,
especially
yeah.
the Viva Terlingua album.
Uh huh. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
I really enjoyed that. And another one I liked a lot was the third track, "Too Much," because it feels like something that you would have written specifically for me. Like it's nitpicking. You're nitpicking oneself, and then there's all the insecurities we feel as humans. But I guess the reason why it feels like it was written for me, and I'm sure it comes from inside of you, is that those are feelings that we all have.
Yeah, 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 I think that's true. I mean, certainly artists in general maybe magnify some of those things because we're so worried about how people are going to receive what we do and say and all that kind of thing. But I think, yeah, I think those are universal. I think everybody has those same concerns. And to me, it was an interesting juxtaposition of being both not enough and too much at the same time. And so that was kind of the where I approached the song.
And then "You in Birmingham" feels like a just a timeless sound, like it could have been recorded, released in any era. It's got a
Yeah.
killer of a heartbreaking chorus that I enjoyed. And then you got to work with Jamie Harris, and y'all sound great together on that one. How did the song come about, and then how did working with Jamie Harris come about?
Um, well, I mean, the song itself, I don't want to say it's autobiographical, but it again is that kind of living in those insecurities and letting other people define who we are instead of kind of figuring that out for ourselves. And I certainly have done that over my life with my parents and then with friends and all kinds of chapters where that's been the case. And I was really feeling that a lot at the time that I wrote the song. And so that it kind of, came together like that. And as far as Jamie, she's on three tracks on the record, which I'm
Mhm.
sure you know, but Jamie, I'm a huge fan of hers, and she has been at the festival in Boone multiple times as well. So I had met her. I wouldn't say we were like buddies or anything, but you know, we had met enough to where she recognized me if I walked up and didn't think I was a serial killer. Um, but as it turned out, in my conversations with Jason, I had mentioned her being at that festival and how much I loved her music and that kind of thing. And so we got all the basic tracks done. And then he and I got back together, and he had notes and I had notes. And he said, "These three songs, I think we need a backing vocal." And I'm thinking, what if we asked Jamie? And I was like, is that possible? Could we do that? Well, as it turns out, Jason and the guys that played the basic tracks on my record, they're all also John Fulbright's live band. And on the Cayamo cruise last year, John Fulbright played, and Jamie asked the band to be her band on her performances on the Cayamo cruise. And so they kind of got to know her, and then she really loved what they were doing. And actually, next month, Jamie's going to Tulsa, and Jason's going up there, and Patty and Jesse are going to be there, and they're doing her new record. So everything just kind of converged at a really good place. And he called her and said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And she's like, "Absolutely." Um, so yeah, that was pretty thrilling because she's amazing.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, you kind of answered some of it because I'd recognized some of the guys who played on this record with you, but I didn't put it
Mhm.
together that they were in John Fulbright's band because I saw that he played piano on your fourth track, "Looked for
Uh-huh.
God." So is that basically how that came about?
Same thing, yeah, yeah. I mean, all the guys on the record, save Jason, I mean, of that core band, are all Tulsa guys, and that's where Fulbright's from. It's where John Moreland's from, and he's recorded with all those. In fact, I want to say the Big Bad Love album of his was recorded at Jason's studio with basically that same band. There's kind of that Tulsa community of musicians. And they played on a lot of it. And Jesse actually also was part of the touring version of the Hardworking Americans, the band with um, Todd Snyder.
Tulsa's an underrated music town. I know a lot of people, of course, especially for this type of music, they think Austin, Nashville, but Tulsa's got a really good music scene.
Yeah, and the pedigree there when you start digging into it, I mean, Tulsa it's Leon Russell, it's J.J. Cale. There's a lot of history there too with some very influential musicians.
Yeah. Is there? I know this is going to be kind of like asking you to pick your favorite child, but
Right.
is there one track on Only Sky that kind of stands out above the others as like a personal favorite of yours?
Well, that is hard. In some ways, right now, I would say the final track before the Monkey song,
Mhm.
Madeline. Um, and again, I've taken some liberties with it to make it work and make it rhyme and to get the form the way I wanted it. But I had been thinking a lot about my parents divorced when I was pretty young, and I was maybe 11 or 12. I was visiting my dad. He was the job he had then was in Houston, and I was with him for a week, and but he still had to go to work every day. And while I was there, and so while he was out, I would just snoop through his closets and drawers and see if I could figure out a little bit about who my dad was. And I found a box full of photographs of pictures, and one of the pictures was a picture of my dad with his second wife. And on the back of the picture, it said, "I'm married to Barbara, but I can't get over Joyce." And Joyce is my mom. And, by that time, they'd been divorced 6, 7 years. And so, yeah, that was, especially for a 12, 13-year-old kid, that was kind of heavy. And it's a story that I've told many times, but, I don't know why it took me this long to make a song out of it. But yeah, that's essentially where that came from.
So, who are some of your musical influences?
A lot of that is kind of at different seasons of my musical progression. When I first started singing and playing, I couldn't get enough John Denver. Which I know is not cool necessarily, but it was like he was a guy that played acoustic guitar and sang songs and
Mhm.
wrote them. And it started there, and then I went through a kind of a pop ballad phase with a really good buddy of mine that's a pianist. who went on to be Dionne Warwick's musical director, Rob Schrockberry, and like Burt Bacharach was a groomsman at his wedding, that kind of thing. Uh, so he and I did a lot of stuff together, but um, I had sort of this awakening, um, maybe in the '90s. Um, and I was listening to a local radio station, community radio station, and there was a show there on the station called Not Necessarily Nashville, and I would listen to it because it had a lot of singer-songwriters
Mhm.
that you couldn't necessarily hear anywhere else, and but I began to realize that even some of the older country songs that I had claimed to hate as a child, that I knew all the words, and all of a sudden I was acutely aware of how brilliant Merle Haggard was. Uh, you know? And so that kind of turned a corner. I think maybe the most influential record for me in that respect was Rodney Crowell's Memphis Kid. Um, it kind of led me in the direction of the kinds of songs that I wanted to write, the storytelling, and I want you to be my girlfriend, and that kind of thing that I had tried to write when I was in high school, and more to just tell stories. And so that record was huge. And then I really, really love Guy Clark. I typically say he's my North Star. He's the guy that I'm shooting for, and so he's huge. Um, I mentioned James McMurtry earlier. If there's anybody writing better songs right now, I don't know who it is. He's phenomenal. Mary Gauthier, uh, she's amazing and a huge hero. Um, so yeah, and some more vintage stuff too. Jackson Brown and James Taylor was a huge influence. Even when I was younger. So everything kind of out of that singer-songwriter world has got some influence for sure.
It always interests me with songwriters. Are you a lyrics guy first? Do you write the lyrics first, or do you compose the music first?
Yeah, that's one of those questions that like virtually every interview that it's because it is people are curious about that. How does that
I
work? And I
personally,
think
I personally, I just don't understand how people could write music first.
Yeah, yeah. For me, there's not a single answer to that question. It really varies from song to song. I would say it's more often the lyrics for me, but there are also times where you just get a groove in your head, or just a feel, and then you kind of build from there. The famous story about Yesterday by the Beatles. The title of that song for ever and ever was Scrambled Eggs because Paul had the song, but he didn't have any lyrics. So it just, made up nonsense until it kind of turned into something. And I know a lot of guys do that. They'll just do, gobbledygook lyrics if they get a vibe and a groove that they like, and then, let the words kind of come when they come. But yeah, I would say I mean, definitely my priority is the lyrics. That's what's most important.
Yeah. Let people know how they can find not only only Sky but also Tarrant County.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you can go to my website, markcurry.com, and that's Curry with an E. That is, the E is frequently dropped. And, all of it is there. I'm on all of the streaming platforms, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all of those places. So, yeah, pretty much anywhere. And then you can find me on, socials as well at Facebook and Instagram and that kind of thing. And most all of those places have some link or pointer that tell you how to get to the songs.
So, and again, I'll mention the E is very important. If not, you'll find a TV star from the '90s.
Right. Or
Wait, you were not
an
on hanging.
interesting.
You were not
I
on
was
Hanging with
not
Mr.
in
Cooper.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I was
Okay.
not. No, no.
Okay.
No. There is actually a songwriter named Mark Curry as well without the E. And a couple actually, oddly enough. One is a solo acoustic guitarist, just plays instrumental stuff, and then the other one is a very kind of punk influenced acoustic rock thing. So
Okay. So you may still find some good music, just not your music.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
And where can people see you in the future? I know you're playing shows around the area.
Yeah. We've got some stuff coming up. We're doing a it's a little late, but we scheduled when we could. But we're going to do a full band release show at Whitewater Tavern on November 5th, and then I've got an opening spot coming up with Jim Lauderdale
Okay.
um, at Stickies. That's coming up in October, and then I've got a little small thing that I'm doing also in October at a new place in Bryant called Wine Time. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm not. I'm playing less frequently now because I'm trying to only play rooms where folks came to hear music.
Do you have anything you want to add before I let you go?
No, man, I think we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, I'm hoping because we did the EP this year that if that goes well, then maybe it won't be another 8 years before we get back in the studio. Maybe 2026, 2027, we'll take another run at it. So
Yeah, well, it seems like you have at least another EP's worth of songs waiting.
absolutely.
Well, thanks, Mark, for joining me today, and
Yeah, thank you, man.
yeah, I hope we get to do this again.
Absolutely, anytime.